Please could we give a nice warm welcome to our next guest speaker and the best head teacher, Miss Zoe Morris.
Thank you, Lois. Okay, so I need to answer these questions. What is the potential and the impact of creativity and creative education in schools? Well, I think that's simple. The potential is infinite and the impact is life-changing. However, we do know that to unlock this potential and to realise this impact, there are barriers that we face each day, both as teachers and as creative practitioners. Now, I want to be very open with you. I'm speaking from my own perspective today. I've been the head teacher at Chorlton High School for the last 8 years. Before that, I was on the senior management team for 12 years. Before that, I was a drama teacher, so I'm the converted as well too. And I'm very lucky in the fact that I was a teacher in schools when there was such thing as a specialist schools programme. That initiative was actually launched by a Conservative government. I think they thought it would promote technology in enterprise schools, but of course then those pesky creative types got involved, and we had arts colleges as well too. Of course, when Michael Gove became the Education Secretary, he stopped all of that. But this was the start of my school, and I think that although you can take away a status, you can take away logos, you can't take away the passion, the inspiration and the heart. And for me, it's creative subjects, creative education that is at the heart of any school. Now, we will hear later about rights respecting schools and the impact that that has on bringing to life young people. But I would say that actually any school that embraces creativity and culture has exactly the same impact. And of course, we know how important the well-being, the active participation for young people in events and working with one another, in developing strong relationships, peer relationships, relationships with adults, and on developing their self-esteem and happiness really is. And it's more important today than ever before. The most recent UNICEF report 2 years on really highlights this. It looks at the ongoing concerns post-pandemic and the concerns about the harm that has made to young people. For all of us that work with young people, be that teachers, creative practitioners, heads of cultural institutions, it is our role to help solve this issue for all of us and for our society. We provide the positivity and the nourishment that young people need these days following the uncertainty and the lack of confidence that they may still feel. This is the potential that we hold. This is a potential that is there for every child, and therefore we are the people that will unlock that. And we need to remember that this is our moral purpose. That is the leverage that we have to be able to break down the barriers when we come up against it. And we know there are lots of barriers for us. There's lots of excuses that we find. There's no time, there's no money, there's the national curriculum, there's Ofsted. These are the things that we face on a daily basis when we're trying to fulfil this aspect of creative education in schools. But let's have a look at these in detail. That's what I want to be able to do this afternoon, because I'd like to help give you some leverage when you go back to your schools or try to get through the front door of a school at some point. No time, no money. We're all in education or in the arts. There's never any time or money. Nobody came into this business for the time, the money, or the recognition. The passion is already there. Let's have a look at the other two in a bit more detail, though. We are used to breaking down barriers. That's what we want to do in all the way, whether that's working in a school or whether it's working in the arts. We learn how to get around things, how to vault over things, or because we're creative, limbo underneath. These are the things that we're good at. We can work around them. So, let's think about the curriculum to start off with. In the end, the national curriculum is just a skeleton. It is a minimum expectation of things that we need to deliver in schools. Even Nick Gibb, the Secretary for School Standards, says that our curriculum, to be great, should be the best that has been thought and said. That's not a barrier. That's a lever for us. What could be better? What we do is the best that has been thought or said. This is the best thing that we could have to ignite the passion of learning, to ensure that our children are the best examples of creative education, that we can ensure that they experience the works of Christopher Bruce or Augusta Boal the same way that they see English literature, traditional canon. That is their entitlement too. That is their heritage. It should therefore be part of our curriculum. And that's our first lever, to dismantle those invisible barriers around the curriculum that sometimes squeeze creative education and subjects out and crowbar creative aspects right into the centre of it. The best that has been thought and said. Let's turn to Ofsted. Now, when I thought about speaking tonight, I was always going to address how we can get around the Ofsted issue. It's a scary word if you work in a school. However, I wasn't expecting to bounce on the back of it being in the media, quite high profile at the moment. The reason the inspection regime is in the media is, of course, it's talking about the impact it has on teachers. For long enough, it's had an impact on teachers, and longer still, it's had an impact on the curriculum that we teach, because we're told which subjects need to be more important than others, and on the way that we have to teach. The current news story is uncovering some of these pressures, and maybe they will have change. But even if we don't, I can't see a time where we'll be allowed to not have an evaluation schedule or be told that this is our curriculum. So we have to work with it. We have to take control of that and shape it and control it. After all, they would never give us free rein. We're dangerous. We encourage children to think for themselves and to speak out. So, in terms of the inspection framework, there are 4 areas. First of all, the quality of education, which links onto the conversation around the curriculum. And here we can see the idea that we need to have an ambitious curriculum, the best that is thought and said, and it refers explicitly to cultural capital and how all young people, particularly the most vulnerable, need access to this. Here it is, written in an inspection framework. This is our moral imperative. And the moment that we're told that we shouldn't do things, this is what we need to go back to, because this is what we can point out where we are making a difference to young people's lives. This is their entitlement. It is our responsibility to identify, to shape that, and ensure that every child gets it. Now, there's some excellent examples of this on MAID's website. The series of short films about City School of Art is brilliant, and you can really see in that how that work can be built in. You can also listen to the young people and hear what the impact is on them. The second aspect, though, about the quality of education that we also do brilliantly was on the previous slide about future employment. Here in Manchester, the creative and cultural sector is one of the major growth areas. Our young people have tremendous opportunities through that sector. And again, it becomes our responsibility to work with our schools to make sure that they have effective careers education so that they have a good knowledge of that sector. I sometimes think that in careers educations, we don't understand the careers of the future. And this is a major area there. And we can play a part in that by ensuring they have meaningful encounters with creative practitioners. Behaviour and attitudes. A positive and respectful culture. Given the challenges that our young people and their families have faced over the past few years and continue to face in our communities, we cannot take for granted that they know how to build relationships, how to resolve conflict, how to listen and respect the views of others, how to be tolerant, how to empathise. But we can and should use creative approaches to address this, to shape positive and inclusive attitudes with our learners. More effectively, again, if we see that there is an issue, there is a gap there in their understanding, then we can work with great creative practitioners such as Odd Arts that we can bring in to come and work with the young people and look at creating a safe environment where they can explore these issues and explore their own identity within them. In this way, we're building them to be great young people and to have the resilience for modern day life. Now, Ofsted's personal development descriptors is one of the biggest levers that we have. This is just creative development, really, and we should rename it. Enabling young people to develop and discover their interests and talents. Developing their character. This is the bread and butter of our work. Walk into any arts-based lessons in school, accompany any school trip, see any workshop, and this is there. So we have to ensure that we make time for it. Get it built into the school's calendar. Embed it into our curriculum entitlement, that every child may visit a gallery, go to a museum, see a play, work with a creative practitioner. What a great entitlement, what a great pledge for our young people in schools. This is part of Ofsted. This is our lever to ensure it is there. It is our potential, and we need to reclaim this as the creative development section. Finally, leadership and management. This follows on from what Jo said really as well too. In considering this aspect, I return to the concerns about uncertainty and fatigue post-pandemic. That's not just the feelings of children, of our young people, but of staff, of ourselves. We need nourishment too. And that's what I hope tonight will be for you, and not just for one night, that you'll continue to engage with MAID, build up those networks, and that those connections will create that additional sparks and that nourishment. This is the potential for us, the impact that we can have on one another. I'm sorry, it's not money, it's not time, but actually it's about making the difference. So, I want to just sum up tonight, and I hope that the potential that we've talked about will be seen and heard tonight, and that when you look for the impact, the extra spark to help you push through this moral purpose, that you see it here and over there, in the faces of the creative practitioners tonight, in the faces of the young people in your classroom, who walk over your cultural institution's threshold in every workshop you do. They are what we need to help us continue to move on. Thank you very much.